Some stars fade quietly into the background, while others seem to linger in public memory no matter how much time passes, and Erika Eleniak belongs firmly in the second category. Recently, renewed interest in her appearance has sparked conversations online reminding people why she made such a lasting impression in the first place. Rather than focusing on shock or comparison, the discussion feels rooted in appreciation. Appreciation for someone who once defined an era of television and still carries herself with confidence today. What stands out most is not just how she looks, but how comfortable she seems in her own skin. In an industry often obsessed with youth and perfection, Erika's presence feels refreshingly grounded. Fans aren't responding to trends or headlines as much as they are reconnecting with a sense of nostalgia mixed with respect. It's less about chasing attention and more about recognizing a familiar face that helped shape pop culture memories. That kind of connection doesn't disappear easily, and it explains why people still pause when her name comes up. From early roles to widespread recognition before becoming a household name, Erika Eleniak had already begun building a foundation in film and television at a young age. Her early appearances introduced her to audiences long before fame truly arrived, giving her experience in an industry that can be demanding even for seasoned professionals. Over time, these smaller roles helped shape her on-screen presence and confidence, setting the stage for what would become her most recognizable work. When she eventually stepped into mainstream visibility, it wasn't by accident or overnight success, but the result of steady exposure and growing familiarity with the craft. Viewers didn't just see a performer, they saw someone who felt natural in front of the camera. That authenticity played a large role in why audiences responded so strongly to her later roles. Looking back, it's clear that her early career choices laid the groundwork for long-term recognition, even if her time in the spotlight would eventually shift in a different direction. The Baywatch era and cultural impact. For many fans, Erika Eleniak will always be closely associated with Baywatch, a show that became a global phenomenon and a defining symbol of 1990s television. Her role helped shape the series' identity during its early success, and she quickly became one of the most recognizable faces connected to the franchise. What made her stand out wasn't just the visual appeal that audiences often mention, but the sense of ease she brought to the screen. She fit naturally into the show's world, balancing strength, vulnerability, and charm in a way that resonated with viewers. Baywatch itself became larger than television, influencing fashion, pop culture, and even how beach imagery was portrayed worldwide. Being part of that moment left a lasting imprint, and Erika's contribution remains part of why the show is still remembered today, even decades later. References to that era continue to spark recognition, proving how deeply it embedded itself into popular culture. Life beyond the Hollywood spotlight. Stepping away from mainstream Hollywood is rarely a simple decision, especially for someone who has experienced global recognition. For Erika Eleniak, the move appeared less about retreat and more about redefining what success meant on her own terms. Rather than constantly chasing roles or public approval, she chose a path that allowed for more balance and personal fulfillment. This shift is something many fans now admire, as it reflects a quiet confidence and a willingness to prioritize well-being over visibility. Hollywood often rewards constant presence, but Erika's journey shows that stepping back doesn't erase relevance. In fact, it can deepen respect. By creating distance from the pressures of fame, she opened space for reflection, growth, and a more grounded lifestyle. That choice resonates strongly today as conversations around mental health and personal boundaries have become more open. Her story offers a reminder that fulfillment doesn't always come from staying in the spotlight. A more intentional creative path. Although she no longer pursues constant high-profile roles, Erika Eleniak has not completely disappeared from creative work. Instead, she has explored projects that align more closely with her interests and values. Occasional appearances, personal storytelling, and reflective conversations have allowed her to stay connected to entertainment without being consumed by it. This kind of selective involvement suggests a shift from performance as obligation to expression as choice. Rather than trying to recreate past success, She seems focused on meaningful engagement, whether that's through speaking, sharing experiences, or connecting with audiences in smaller but more personal ways. This approach feels increasingly relevant in a world where many creatives seek sustainability rather than non-stop exposure. By choosing when and how to participate, she maintains a sense of autonomy that wasn't always possible earlier in her career. That intentionality adds depth to her public image and reinforces the idea that evolution is not the same as disappearance. The conversation around appearance and aging. Recent discussions about Erika Eleniak's appearance have sparked admiration rather than scrutiny, which feels like a positive shift in how public figures are viewed. Instead of harsh comparisons or unrealistic expectations, many people are responding with appreciation for confidence, authenticity, and self-acceptance. The focus has moved away from chasing youth and toward embracing presence. In a culture that often treats aging as something to hide, seeing a public figure comfortable with herself can be quietly powerful. It challenges the idea that beauty has an expiration date and replaces it with a broader definition rooted in health, self-respect, and confidence. Fans aren't just commenting on how she looks, but on how she carries herself. That distinction matters. It reflects a growing awareness that appearance is only one small part of a person's story. Erika's visibility, even in brief moments, contributes to a more balanced and compassionate conversation around aging in the public eye. Staying connected without oversharing. One of the most noticeable aspects of Erika Eleniak's current public presence is how carefully she maintains boundaries. She remains connected to supporters without turning her life into constant content. This balance feels intentional and refreshing, especially in an era where oversharing is often encouraged. By offering glimpses rather than full access, she keeps interactions meaningful rather than performative. When she does share, the tone often centers on wellness, reflection, and personal insight rather than spectacle. That approach builds trust and respect, allowing fans to feel included without crossing into intrusion. It also reinforces the idea that privacy is not a weakness, but a choice. Many people admire this balance because it mirrors what they seek in their own lives: connection without exhaustion. Erika's example shows that staying relevant doesn't require constant visibility, only authenticity and clarity about what truly matters. Nostalgia, respect, and lasting influence. Nostalgia plays a powerful role in why Erika Eleniak continues to be discussed, but it's not the only reason. While memories of past roles certainly draw people in, respect is what keeps the conversation going. Fans remember how she made them feel during a specific time in pop culture history, and that emotional connection doesn't fade easily. Over time, nostalgia has evolved into appreciation for her choices and personal growth. Rather than being frozen in one era, she is seen as someone who moved forward with intention. That evolution adds depth to her legacy, making it about more than a single role or moment. Influence isn't always loud or constant. Sometimes it's quiet and enduring. Erika's impact lives in memories, conversations, and the way people reflect on changing definitions of success and fulfillment. That kind of influence lasts far longer than headlines. Why her story still resonates today. At its core, the renewed interest in Erika Eleniak isn't really about photos or appearances, it's about perspective. Her journey reflects themes many people relate to: stepping back, redefining success, and choosing authenticity over pressure. In a fast-moving culture that often rewards constant visibility, her story offers an alternative narrative that feels both calming and empowering. She represents the idea that it's possible to evolve without losing relevance, to grow without rejecting the past, and to live fully without constant validation. That balance resonates strongly today, especially as more people question traditional definitions of achievement. Whether someone remembers her from early films, iconic television moments, or recent reflections, the connection feels genuine. Erika Eleniak remains a symbol of confidence shaped by experience rather than expectation. And perhaps that's why, even after all these years, people are still paying attention. not out of curiosity alone, but out of respect.